Implied definition. Before proceeding, one needs to understand that the Buddhist teaching refers to a self solely on a conventional level. The self is a relative truth. It is not believed to be absolute. This is made clear by the Buddha's statement that a perfectly enlightened Buddha does not establish a self as part of his doctrine. He does not regard the self as real. Senya, the teacher, who does not declare a self as real or true, either in this world or the next, is called the perfectly enlightened Buddha. Consequently, the Buddhist teachings do not concern themselves with the existence of self or engage in a diagnosis of self. Moreover, the Buddha stated, "It is impossible for a person endowed with right view, i.e. a stream enterer, to grasp anything Dhamma as self." With the realization of the supreme state, no reason remains for an arahant to contemplate a self. This is substantiated by the Buddha's designation of an arahant as one who has abandoned the self or discarded the self. Atan jaho, atan jaha. An arahant has abandoned the belief in a self, the view of existing as or possessing a self. Some passages describe an arahant as having abandoned the self, not clinging to anything. Atam pahaya anupadiyano. The following passage from the Tipitaka summarizes this matter. All formations are impermanent, subject to pressure and non-self. Nibbana and designations are non-self. Although a self does not truly exist, attachment to self does, and most people fervently embrace a notion of a fixed self. The Buddha rejected the validity of such a notion and encouraged people to abandon the attachment to self. In Buddhism, a substantial self is of no importance. It is not a matter requiring speculation. Buddhism focuses on the attachment to self, or on the concept of self that is the object of such attachment. Buddhism teaches people to release the attachment. With its release, one's responsibility is fulfilled, and a fixed, stable self no longer has relevance. To summarize, once a person understands that conditioned things are selfless, the topic of self versus non-self is over. A person who has realized the unconditioned no longer identifies with anything as a self. Furthermore, any explanation for the selfless nature of the unconditioned, i.e. Nibbana, becomes redundant. To elaborate on Nibbana as anatta is unnecessary for the following reasons. The only things that people attach to and are able to attach to as self are conditioned phenomena, or the five aggregates. All that unawakened people recognize, know, and think about lies within the confines of the five aggregates. Even when speaking of Nibbana, the Nibbana they refer to is not the real Nibbana, but part of the five aggregates. Awakened beings know Nibbana for themselves and have abandoned any belief in self. So they need not refer to this subject of self. If they do speak, they simply state that arahants have completely abandoned the belief in self, atan jaha. The duty of a teacher in this context is only to prompt people to know and then abandon their misunderstanding. which leads them to grasp conditioned things as self. Once people are fully aware, abandoning erroneous views and ceasing to grasp the five aggregates as self, they do not search for anything else to cling to as a self, because they have clearly realized Nibbana, which transcends the five aggregates along with all belief in self. Those who have realized Nibbana discern themselves by the selfless quality of the unconditioned. There is no further need to discuss this matter. Transcending the state of an ordinary person from the level of stream entry upwards results in the end of clinging and doubting. The necessity to discuss the selfless nature of the unconditioned vanishes automatically. In other words, for awakened beings, no reference to a self arises to cling to doubt over, or to debate about. The standard scriptural explanations of anatta therefore refer to conditioned phenomena, i.e. the five aggregates, which are of everyday relevance to people and comprise all things that ordinary unawakened people are able to conceive of from their experience.